John, welcome to the potential apocalypse. Don't mean to be negative, but it seems like we might be on the verge of Civil War II. How you doing tonight?
Doing just great, given the scenery. I love this. This may be my favorite thumbnail of all time. I mean,
Really?
I'm in love with this thumbnail. Oh, this
Thank
is the
you.
greatest. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
serious. This is fabulous. This is great.
Well, we should talk
So,
about this. Why some of this imagery has been selected here. This is the because so they've been like selling this disease X. It's the craziest thing ever. It's almost like like the media campaign for a new Batman movie or something. Like they know it's coming and they're teasing it. What the hell is that? How do they know a pandemic is coming, John?
it's interesting because I learned from this last pandemic with COVID that Dr. Fauci and the crew, these experts, right, the WHO, Dr. Fauci, Bill Gates, it seems that they don't predict anything that they don't know is already happening. And in the world of magic, this is a very common technique, right? You don't want to make a prediction and then cross your fingers and hope it comes true. You want to make a prediction that you know is going to come true. For example, if I happened to be in Irian, Java, when the volcano blew, and then I came back to New York and told people, I guarantee you the Krakatoa is going to disappear. You look like a genius because nobody knew the Krakatoa disappeared. And so it's like predicting something. Well, that's what kind of Fauci did. When Fauci said there's going to be a surprise outbreak, there was already an outbreak underway. It wasn't COVID, it was something else. And so that's what we're going to take a look at tonight is disease X been here for some time now? Is that a possibility? Are they predicting something that's already underway? And might that make some sense? In other words, are they shifting their narrative because the old narrative has gotten stale? And we're going to explore it, and we're going to take a look at just current events and see if these current events line up with potentially disease X. So while the rest of the world is saying, ooh, disease X is coming, what we're looking at tonight is disease X already here? And if so, how long has it been here? And has it been disguised? Has it been, is it cloaked? Does it have that cloaking thing like the aliens
Klingon
in Miami? We're gonna have to get Shep on the show and talk about the cloaking technology. What's going on here? What happened? In fact, tell Shep I want to do a show together with him. We got to look at this Miami thing.
We did that already. There's not a lot of good evidence on that. He's interviewed some people, but I don't really think those interviews are very strong evidence. I wanted some photographic evidence. But, John, this thumbnail, I created it using artificial intelligence, and we're trying to create a little scene here where, I don't know, I'm obviously not an epidemiologist, but it occurred to me that if there was some massive world-killing avian flu, there might be a couple of maybe chickens would develop, maybe a limited number of chickens would develop immunity to it, and they'd become these like super chickens roaming around while everybody's dead, and you're here in a super, nuclear, biological, and tactical suit.
Which, by the way, I won this off of Charles Rixey last week. So that was the prize. Rixey had to give me his hazmat suit as the loser. So I was going to give him the black hat if he won, but that didn't. So I got his.
Are you worried
suit.
about
it fits pretty
artificial intelligence
fits
taking over every job?
Not really. Not really. I mean, I think artificial intelligence is going to be very interesting for stuff like this. And I used it earlier today on Twitter, and I'm going to show the audience here on YouTube how I used artificial intelligence at Twitter. We used Grok to summarize some findings. And for stuff like that, it's really cool, right? So you can ask it questions to summarize documents, that you would, it's like, I don't have time to go read 20 documents that were published by BMJ on a particular topic, but the AI does, and the AI's already read them. So if you ask the AI to summarize this paper, this paper, this paper, this paper, and find a common thread across.
Ooh, that's
right.
interesting.
It's perfect for right. So it's perfect for stuff like that. Right. Now, am I going to ask it to make me a chocolate souffle? Probably not.
Right? I want that. Get the Tesla robot with the arms. They have that kitchen robot in Japan that does that. It makes everything. I saw them training the chefs. They wear a whole robot suit. Now, wait a minute. I'm getting super ADD on the robot souffle, but there is an important thing that people are asking about that's a little bit off topic. I just want to mention it because, of course, we've had more rogue justice, stuff going wrong, and Trump has been ordered to pay $83.3 billion. No, is billion? It was million. $83.3 million. Million to E. Jean Carroll. Yeah. But why is it 83.3, not 85, not 80? They got to stick that 3.3 in there, right?
I didn't prepare anything on that, but
sorry.
One of the exciting things is from now on the show, I'd like you to introduce me as the author of the upcoming book, right? So this is a new thing I'm hearing on the news, is they're introducing pundits as the author of the upcoming book, meaning the book's not been published yet.
I didn't even write it yet.
So that just means it's right. It's like a work in process. That's perfect. I can do that. Yeah. I can do that. I got 30,000 words in process. So if you go to the next slide, you can introduce me as the author of the upcoming book, Tastes Like Chicken. And so this is the working title, right? We may modify the title as we go on. But right now the working title is Tastes Like Chicken. And this is the book. And so what's interesting is for the longest time, I thought that the real story was kind of this behind the scenes interaction between me and Laura Ingraham. And now that's like 3 years ago already. I mean, that ended when the election was over. She and I pretty much stopped talking. So now with this new perspective, what I realized is that's really just a chapter or two in this grand scheme of what happened.
Totally agree.
And if you go to the next slide, I recently had the opportunity to connect with a young lady that I met on Twitter, whose first name is Amy. And she goes by Question It on Twitter.
This was super duper.
Yeah, thank you. So she came on, and I did that in AI, obviously, because I can't even draw any kind of.
Did you? Yeah, I was going to say that was like your best thumbnail yet. I sort of felt like proud of you because I'm like kind of like driving you towards better thumbnails.
Yeah. So I used some AI thing, and I stuck in her avatar from Twitter and said, "Give me a post-apocalyptic superhero," and it cranked that out.
It really looks great.
Let's go. Yeah. I didn't do a damn thing, so I was happy with that. But the net of it is, Amy kind of shows up out of nowhere. She's a nurse. Has over 30 years of experience as a nurse. She has a master's degree and is studying for her PhD. And with the work we've been doing, I think she's ready to document a new thesis here. I think. I mean, she could defend this easily. So she shows up like Batgirl. I mean, I don't really know who she is, right? She shows up and just like magic starts whipping out documents after document and research after research. And it's like, where did she come from? This is amazing. And because she's a nurse, she knows what all this stuff is, right? I'm looking at, I don't know what half the stuff, right? I don't know what 98% of the stuff is I'm looking at. She knows what it is. So she shows up like
on the ground experience treating COVID patients, and her father.
Yes. And her father passed away from it. She had it. So she's experienced it. It's a very personal thing for her, and she's qualified. And so, like Batman didn't know Batgirl's real identity, but she, they work together, right? And she just kind of shows up and helps out.
Commissioner
right?
Gordon's daughter.
Yeah, but he
How
didn't know that.
How do these people not know? Are you trying to tell me if I showed up with a Batman suit on and was like, "Hey man, I'm Batman," you'd be like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Well,
it's ridiculous.
That's why we were 7, right? That's why I was 7 when I was taking all this stuff in, right? Because it was great when you were 7, and I couldn't understand why the floor was on an angle. Why was the floor on an angle all the time? What was that all about?
All right,
so
dramatic.
So Amy shows up, kind of like a superhero, with this ability to sort through a lot of the data, produce a lot of material, and kind of provide the supporting connective material for this aspect of what we've been talking about lately. And so we did a session. We got together and went through some of her research materials. And I think it was a really well-received discussion. I think it lasted about 2 hours. And we're going to try and do another one to talk more about the timeline, because it seems that while the rest of the world kind of became aware of COVID in the January, February timeframe of 2020, there was something else going on long before that that seemed rather dramatic. And so the question is, if COVID wasn't disease X, right? So the WHO is not saying disease X is COVID, right? That's not what they're saying. They're saying it's something other than COVID. So if it's not COVID, might it have been here in dribs and drabs before, prior to? It's not that controversial. It's just a question, right? When did it show up? Did it show up? Is it here already?
They were worried about swine flu a few years ago and all that other stuff.
All of a sudden, we're seeing stories about measles. Dude, there's stories about measles. There's measles disease. So we're going to look at what's going on, man. What's going on outside the world of COVID, right? The WHO has said the COVID thing is kind of over. That's what the WHO said this 8 months ago, by the way. The COVID thing is over.
I thought Joe Biden announced it at the auto show, like electric Corvettes and no more COVID.
Yes. And that's the right place to do it. It's the right place to do it. All right. So again, I had Amy on the show. Great dialogue. But one of the key things, let's go back up one slide. One of the key things was this discussion, or this repetition from Donald Trump about the 1917 Spanish flu. And one of the things that I just don't see a lot of in this investigative journalism world, I don't see a lot of people willing to let go of certain beliefs in favor of new, better ones. Like, I don't see a whole lot of people saying, you know what? I thought it was this, but then I saw this new evidence, and now I think it's that. I don't see a lot of that. But it's weird, because if you don't have all the evidence, why would you dig in so early? I don't know. It's just weird. So what happened here was somebody calls my attention to this compilation. And the compilation is Donald Trump talking about 1917 Spanish flu. And he's being emphatic about it. And in fact, if you look at his eyes when he does it, we'll play the video when we go to the patron-only portion of the show. So for those of you who are watching on YouTube right now, we run video clips and stuff like that. And in order to avoid, copyright hassles and all kinds of other stuff, we don't play those videos here when we're on YouTube. We do it when we go to the patron-only portion, which our patrons go and we take like a 5-minute break when we wrap up here on YouTube. And then we go over to Subscribestar or Patreon /I am John Cullen, if you're a supporter of mine, or you go to Subscribestar or Patreon /crowdsource the truth, if you're a subscriber or a patron of Jason's. And there's a whole bunch of people who support both of us, and they can choose either one, right? That's like having a black Ferrari and a yellow Ferrari, right? It's like you get the whichever one you want, you just take it. Yeah. Exactly. What mood are you in? You go to the Jason channel, you go to the John Cullen channel. And then if you like, you can also go to odyssey.com /@crowdsource the truth, or you can go to substack.com /crowdsource the truth and support Jason's work there. And that's where we do kind of the deeper aspect of this stuff, and we share the videos and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to look at this video sequence with Trump again, because again, it's like you look at his eyes and it's like have you ever played charades?
Yeah. Of course.
And you're trying to communicate to your partner what it is, and you can't say it, and so you're looking at them like, look at me, like, and you're trying to get it across to them. And I feel like that's what
Rhymes
he's
with
doing.
Stew. You're saying it
But
right
it's the
there.
look. It's the look, right? And when you're playing charades, you say it 3 times, 4 times, and the person on the other side's like, yeah, I heard you, and you're looking at them like, no, I say it rhymes with stew, and it does. I see that in his eyes. I see him trying to get something across.
Mm-hmm.
This is not 1918 H1N1. That's what he's saying. This is not 1918 H1N1. Somebody look into 1917.
Yeah, and we did.
And we did. And we find this guy in Chevy Chase who used to live in a horse farm, who thinks it's a good idea to put a Q-tip in the anus of a horse and then see how long it takes to kill. In the nostril of the horse.
And you know what you caused me to think of today? Everybody's getting these tests. They're swabbing your nostrils. It's just exactly how Anton Dilger was making all the horses sick. I'm worried that we're talking about stuff on YouTube that's going to make them want to strike us. I mean, that's really the reason for doing the sponsor exclusive show. We're not doing anything that violates copyright law. It's just that they're so easy to, YouTube makes it super easy for our enemies to strike these videos.
Yes.
So we appreciate everybody.
But here's the thing. So here's the thing that's interesting. All right. So YouTube is going to start becoming big fans of ours right now because.
Why is that?
Well, because they're not big fans of Donald Trump. And it looks like Donald Trump may have really deceived the American people in a pretty major way.
What do you mean?
Well, it looks like he was covering up some stuff long before COVID.
Like what?
And it looks like he had, maybe some Disease X action. So the truth is, Donald Trump and his team have a choice. This is their Black Mirror moment. They can hire me.
What?
Or I can expose them.
What are you talking about? You can't be blackmailing people like that. What are you talking about?
This not blackmail. This is politics. What? Who was the guy who just dropped out of the race? What was his name? Who was he just dropped out of the race? What was his name?
DeSantis?
From Florida? Right. He was saying all this nasty stuff. The minute he drops out of the race, Trump says, I'm so proud to have his support. This is politics, baby.
Okay.
All right. So in the world of politics, I've got you by what do they call that in Brooklyn? The short hairs. I've got you by the short hairs. Now, what does that mean? It means it's very painful. Donald Trump lied to the American people. Ivanka Trump lied to the American people.
They were ordered to. It was classified.
Right. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So telling me the Las Vegas shooting is classified, so we need to lie to you with your tax dollars.
Well, they did.
Right. So they're taking your tax dollars to develop a fake story and forge evidence. And it's my money. Don't use my money to lie to me. What do you? That's unacceptable.
This is what the government does, man. They're using our money to just totally destroy us.
Right. So this is why I love my job. Once upon a time when I started this and I was doing the Vegas shooting thing, I kind of felt like I got roped into it, and it was reluctant, to be honest with you. It was like, I'm not a conspiracy theory
I thought you
guy.
said it sucked you in and you were so drawn to it and everything. No?
Because of the intensity of the content. In other words, I see frickin' helicopters, right? It's like I can't deny what I see, but I'm getting drawn into a world of Jake Morphonius and Charlton the painter, and what according to Joe.
So people want to know what they lied to us about. That you're saying.
Well, it turns out that there's an outbreak that's already underway.
Is that this?
Well, yeah. And so somebody posts this on Twitter. So now I love my job. This is kind of the reason I brought this up. Originally, I was reluctant.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is not my world, man. This whole, David Icke and the lizard people and all this kind of, this is just not this is not the world I'm from.
He's been over here, David Icke.
I know. So, and you brought me together with Ole Damagard. I mean, so again, it's just wild
but
to
Ole
me.
Bailed.
But it's
He's
not my
with
world.
RDS in Bali or something.
All right. So again, not my world. But over the course of the last 6 or 7 years, I've learned to kind of love what I'm doing right now. And when you get somebody in the audience, this crowdsource the truth model, when you get somebody who shares content with you like this,
you find important stuff.
So
what is this? What are we looking at?
Well, it turns out Operation Crimson Contagion is coincident with an outbreak of H7N9 in China, meaning a real outbreak. So there's an actual outbreak of H7N9 in China, and we have Operation Crimson Contagion. And while a lot of people talk about Event 201, and some people are aware of Cladex, and some people are aware of catastrophic contagion, these are all simulations. And the simulations are these tabletop exercises, right? So Event 201 was 1 p.m. to 4 o'clock at the Pierre Hotel. It's a
right.
Yeah, it's a 3-hour thing. So you can only really do so much in 3 hours, and these simulations are developed by the postdoc kids. These are developed by that mouse face chick. She's like 28 years old. It's like a homework assignment. And they get big name people to go through it and act their part.
It is like the high school forensics class, right? Like where they have the mock debate and they're just like sitting around drinking carbonated water or whatever at some Teamsters set up this table.
But they get the big names to come to it and attend it. But the fact
this
is
guy's
it's
the head of the
hours.
CDC from China, isn't he, or something?
Exactly.
George
Miles Guo. Yeah. Or George. George. Yeah. So, but the thing is, Event 201 is only 3 hours long. In 2019, we have Operation Crimson Contagion, and that lasts for 8 months. That's not a simulation. That's an exercise. And what was happening in 2019 was an outbreak of a certain strain of influenza in China, H7N9, that turns highly pathogenic. And the outbreak had started in 2013, but it was here and there, it was dribs and drabs, it was nothing major. But in the 2017 to 2019 timeframe, it goes highly pathogenic, and it's spreading across China, and it's in the poultry. And that's documented by the WHO and the CDC in China. So we've got a whole bunch of documents. I'll show you on that when we go to the patron-only portion of the show. But Operation Crimson Contagion is an exercise about an H7N9 outbreak in China. Well, that's kind of coincidental. And it lasts for 8 months. Now, do you see the difference between 8 months and 3 hours? One is a simulation. One is an exercise.
Whoa, wait a minute. So what was going on then in Elmhurst? That was in 2020. This was over.
So there's a difference between the exercises and the simulation. I used to do simulations in the software business when we used to meet with big clients of ours like JP Morgan Chase or something. We would do a half-day simulation of their call center and show them how unprepared they are. Right? We would simulate one of their major systems going down. And then what do they do? How do they recover from that? So we would do simulations. We used to do that at HP. So to me, the idea of doing a medical simulation like an airplane crash at LaGuardia, if you're in Elmhurst Hospital, right, and you bring in a bunch of people who are, look like they're not, it's what they do. It's not something I would want to participate in. It feels stupid to me, but I guess
maybe Cameron Kyle Seidel would like it though.
Yeah, well, they
so
just
what
do
is
this.
it that Trump lied about?
You don't get a choice. Dude,
We've only got 2 minutes until we have to go to the sponsor exclusive segment. What did Trump lie about?
All right, hang on. You used to work on 7th or 8th Avenue or 9th Avenue or something. Didn't they ever have a fire drill in the building? Did they ever do a fire thing? You have to leave the building. Right. You don't have a choice. You have to leave the building. So if you work at Elmhurst Hospital and they're doing a simulation, it's like, all right, next Thursday, if you're on floors 5th, 6th, or 7th, you're going to be participating in a simulation. We've got the guys coming in from Johns Hopkins, and all of you nurses, you're going to be doing this, and you guys will be doing treatment. You don't have a choice. You're on the payroll, man. This is what they tell you you're going to do. You're going to do it. And if you say, I'm not going to participate in that simulation, I don't know, I'm going to say, what's the matter with you? Right? So we
got 1 minute. People want to know what Trump lied about.
It's what he didn't tell you about. It's a lie of omission. And it's that 1/4 of the egg-laying chickens in America just died. We just had the worst avian influenza outbreak in human history. More chickens died in the last 4 years than have ever died ever. Ever. And you weren't told about that. So as the cost of eggs went to $6, $8, $9 a dozen, and we're just like, oh, it's COVID. No, it was an avian influenza outbreak.
Yeah, they really didn't explain that.
That's heavily documented. So the next slide, we'll go back to this slide with patrons, but the next slide, we asked Grok to document what happened. We said to Grok, wasn't there like a major avian influenza outbreak? Can you please summarize that? And Grok said the 2019 avian influenza outbreak was indeed one of the most severe in history. It began in late 2019 in China. So there were 2 pandemics. One was COVID-19, and the other killed all the chickens. And so we're going to take a look at, is disease X the disease that just killed 1/4 of the egg-laying chickens in the Western world?
Wow. All right, well, we'll be right back in 5 minutes. Join us, everybody, on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsource